Hello and welcome back to Bad Builds, specifically X, a better Y. So the Harpies, I kind of went with something a little bit more fun, as one could say. So from time to time, people like to use like, oh, there's a succubus. You went with a wench to bed, and now there's a succubus. Oh no, you're dead. Your soul got sucked out. I'm gonna agree with Noah. That is a surprise. Like even being aware of it, I go back to that a lot, and I'm like, okay, let's just scrap that and rewrite that a bit. But I thought, why not just have a race that's just like hedonists? That everyone is like, okay, you never know with these guys. The pure chaotic neutrals, aka do whatever the hell they feel like, whenever the hell they feel like it, are the Harpies. They don't really have society because they're chaotic neutral and they don't care. Like, a Harpy will literally justify, I stole from you because now you have an interesting experience to talk about. I stole from you so you could go home and talk about it. Could you imagine that? Like, can you imagine someone looking you dead in the eyes and believing that that's good? Anyway, the Harpies are defined by their desire to be wild and free. They exist in the world, and they believe the world is there to be experienced by them. They're not selfish per se. Well, they are actually super selfish. They consider themselves and their experiences the most important part of their lives. Like, they are raised with, enjoy the world or get the fuck out. As such, they aren't strong, they aren't too smart, but they have something else going for them. And that's the natural charm and agility, which provides them with the unique, distinct advantage of being able to avoid confrontation, instead of having to engage with individuals. This makes them remarkably good bards, rogues, even sorcerers, giving them, you could play them pretty good. So, for their alignment, they are chaotic. They are always chaotic. The few Harpies that are non-chaotic are very much outsiders, and Harpies look down upon them. They find them straights, squares, boring old stuffed shirts, peoples. They're medium in size, even though they have very large wings. They can move all right on land, 30 feet of speed, nice and doable. So, they have wings, and their rings, so I like this idea that they brought up is in Race of the Wild, is that when a winged creature falls, its wings automatically engage in some sort of stiffness, so that they have these large parachutes to help glide them down. So we're going to put that in. You're constant on effective feather fall. Okay. There we go, a little extra nudge. So I also like gradual flight, and starting at level, actually let's raise that bar a bit, let's say level 7. That's a bit more of a reasonable level. So at level 7 you just get unlimited flight, and you can also glide like 20 feet per 5 feet fall. Gives you a lot of aerial mobility, but it's not until level 7 that you actually get flight, and at that point everyone else probably has some way of flying, like the wizard can just slap everyone with a fly scroll or something. Once per short rest, you can get advantage on a charisma check, or only works once per person per week. So it's a good power, but if you're like in a very small setting, it's like, okay, there's only one person I could really use this on. So that's nice. I like the idea that the reason it only works once per week per person is once you've used it on them, they're like, hey, I'm suspicious. Like maybe you can put that in. Like maybe they're like, hey, you're really throwing like your charm at me. They're wild spirits. The idea being that if you try to mind control something, you kind of have to get in their head. You have to stick your hands in the gray, squishy mass, which with some people is kind of funky. Now, Harpies are hedonists, and they're selfish, and they are very much self-centered, which means that it's very difficult to get them to do something. So they have advantage against compulsion, mind affecting, or otherwise mind controlling effects. They are resistant to anyone attempting to control them because they just do what they want. They don't care what you have to say or what their brain has to say. They don't even listen to themselves, really. It might be neat if they're like a Harpy that has a good consciousness, and the consciousness comes out, like you say what your consciousness thinks, but you just ignore it anyway. They can write and speak common. I figured, if Harpies are hedonists, they picked up another language just in case they have to run. Just in case they have to move out of town and go to an enclave of some sort where people can't necessarily talk. Just in case things go wrong. Harpies also enjoy manipulating others because it's fun. They will often use their true charm in mischievous ways, and let their +2 charisma really speak for them. They are devastating in conversation. The idea is that a Harpy will just grease and butter you up until you slide down whatever hole they've got, sorted out for you. And you're not going to get back out because they also grease up the hole. So now you're stuck in a hole in the middle of the woods, and they took off with your wallet, and you're just like, man. Harpies don't get along with a lot of races. They're not like halflings, where at least halflings are like, hey, they're cute, they're jolly. Harpies are more manipulative. They're a little bit more, you know, there's intent in there. So they don't like dwarves because dwarves are stuck up. They don't like elves because elves are stuck up. They don't like humans because humans are kind of stuck up with their laws. How about you just enjoy life, human? Harpies rarely will take... They will take manual labor jobs very briefly to, like, pay for their funds, but usually they get around just stealing from people and making, like, offhand money. Not to say that they would join a thieves guild or something. Maybe an assassin's guild for, like, the thrill of the kill. But, you know, stealing isn't really... They have giant wings. They're very visible. I might put that in. I might lower it down to level 6, the flight thing, and then give them, like, disadvantage on stealth checks because of their giant wings. Because that kind of makes sense. Like, they can't hide. Because they're huge with their wings. Also, their society, as I like to mention here, are free and mismanaged. There's a lot of whimsy going around. If you're in a harpy settlement, the first thing any harpy in your party is going to tell you is, for the love of God, don't get attention drawn to you. Because in a harpy settlement, the law changes. You know how there's the tyrant ruler who like goes, ha, my law is now that all that have a window must pay me gold, which, by the way, was an actual law. There is a reason why Dutch buildings sometimes have lots of windows. Those old buildings have windows because then you show, look at how much window tax I can pay. I can pay lots of window tax. That's why some buildings had so many fucking windows. But that's a real law. Because people were rich and they wanted to show off. But putting that aside, the harpy societies are terrible. There's no like organization. Everything sort of gets done when it gets done. So they don't have much to give, and they usually just run on someone's large paycheck. And every single harpy there will tell you, don't get on the guy's bad side, because a tyrant, at least you pissed him off. Here it's like, hey, you look way too fucking cute. Get out of here. Or even worse, they're like, hey, you're cute. You look like you'd make a nice addition to my court, and then you're just sucked into slavery for the rest of your life. Is they're like, I like you so much, I'm just gonna keep you. No reason. At least a tyrant is like not gonna do that because he's a fucking asshole and has other things to do. But in a harpy society, which are relatively small, it's like, okay, all these harpies are going to gang up on you if you disagree. Because hey, cool, bar fight. You know, they'll find the bar fight the fun part. So they also like to talk. Hedonists, they do enjoy talking. They enjoy stories. They enjoy just talking people's ears off. Because the more you talk to someone, the more they become inclined to listen. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Also defining are the harpies that never learn to fly. So what establishes a harpy that doesn't know how to fly? I like to think that if you're a harpy that can't fly, every single harpy goes like, man, your life sucks. You can't take off into the sky. Not that harpies all can fly, like it's at level 7. Most harpies that can fly are either like they specifically train for it, and they got it like at level 1 because they really put down their legs and flap those wings. Or, you know, it's just a matter if they are level 7 or up and they're actually competent at their job. But many harpies just can't fly because, you know, flying is hard. It really, really is. So those harpies that can't fly are simply seen as not being driven enough, or weak, or cursed, or sign of like, it's not a good position to be in. It doesn't matter because you're in a society that's driven by whimsy. You don't want to be there. Not being able to fly is good, however, because if you can't fly, generally speaking, those harpies tend to become more stable. Like, they become more lawful, a bit more mellowed out, a bit more sitting down, listening to people, because they can't afford it. They can't just fly out of a bar fight and get out of there, you know? So they can't just get away from it. It makes them vulnerable, and because of that vulnerability, they learn to embrace the world and life. And so usually weaklings are bad for harpies. Non-harpies love them because they aren't assholes. And I like the little bit where it's the town guard is entranced by them, and her sly brother is taking people's money out of their pockets. Of course, there are male harpies too, and they're cute. They are cute, and if you don't find them cute, I don't know what your taste is in people, but it's funky. Like Como. Como has a funky taste in things. I could talk about why, but let's just say that, actually, now that I say that, now that I think about that, I've seen, like, some really cool fursuits of, like, quadrupeds. Like, I've seen that guy who made that robo suit from, Zero Dawn. Like, that was a cool suit, man. That was a kick-ass suit. So, harpies and classes. Say you're a harpy, what class you're gonna be. If you're a bard, you're the bread and butter. They're all bards. They all use mental magic. They don't go into fights. They try to avoid fights. They try to manipulate fights. They sit in the background. You are not a frontline fighter. Don't. Harpies dislike violence because violence is hard, and they are not strong. They are weak. They are frail little babies. So they'll try to sit in the background. They'll try to help everyone out they can, but they're not going to fight. You're not going to hold a sword. In fact, you're probably not even going to buy a weapon that you're going to use. You're going to buy a weapon as backup. Now, you can also be a warlock. The warlock is interesting because you're a hedonist. You didn't care. You probably signed the first contract that landed on your lap. And you're like, cool, I have powers now. Never considering the person you signed up with. They often sign up with Fae because Fae are like, ooh, hoo, hoo. They don't like evil. Harpies might be evil at times, but they don't actually like evil at all. Because evil fucks you over. Evil will stab you in the back. They're evil, so they want good people because good people are easy to trick, you know. I like the idea that they sign up by patron. They sign up with a patron, not even considering the possibility that things might go wrong. It's like, hey, I get powers. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? So the sorcerer is a nice mix because they got the charisma, they got the dexterity. They're a good mix. Some harpy, like, if you're you don't become a sorcerer, you are a sorcerer by birthright. So those that are born with wild magic, having they like it. They just like it fits them thematically to be a wild sorcerer instead of a dragon. Like a dragon's stiff. If they're a dragon, they're going to be lawful, whatever. But if not, then they're with wild magic, and they love wild magic, and they throw wild magic around like crazy. Always interested to see what the next weird effect is going to be. They always learn, again, they still learn manipulation spells wherever they can. They learn spells that let them trick people or manipulate a situation. They don't care about combat. They might have a combat spell or two, like enough that they could shoot someone in case things go bad. But they're not carrying an arsenal of fireballs and lightning bolts. They'll carry like an arsenal of suggestion and charm, and then they have like one fireball tucked away in the corner somewhere. And the barbarian. So to the barbarian, I've already mentioned this, you can say that rage is anything. Rage can be anything, as long as it thematically fits. And I say to them, rage is just ecstasy. It's just, they get into this excited, energized mood, and they just start hitting people with sticks. Like, they're so into it. They're drawn into it, and they can't stop themselves. And these are the few harpies that enjoy combat. The few harpies that like fighting become barbarians, because it gives them such power. Because it's the kind of class that really empowers them and gives them what they want. The high hit dice helps a lot. The speed and the ability, it works great for them. And with that, that's kind of it. I like the idea of the harpy. I think if you throw a harpy into the mix, everyone's going to be like suspicious of them. But you never know what a harpy knows, because they look for experiences. They look for things to do. Naturally, they know a lot, and naturally, they know a lot of people. They can get you some information. Just don't tell to that person that you were referred to them by the harpy, because they probably still got a bone to pick with them. Because harpies love having bones to pick with people, or actually love having people having bones to pick with them. Makes things more exciting. Nothing quite like an assassin to start up your day, you know.